There's Gabrielle. We talked about Gabrielle earlier. All right, let's talk about these next two storms. You're going to hear a lot about these two storms over the next 2 days. Now, we've got Humberto, and as you watch the track for Humberto, take a look at the proximity, how close it is to this second storm right here. Okay? You're going to see them. They're going to parallel each other's tracks and move in a very similar direction. So if it gets closer, what we're going to watch for is the interaction between these two storms. And we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Invest 94L is currently sitting over the islands right now. We've got a 30-mile-per-hour wind with it, so not a tropical storm at the moment. It's almost there. It's close. It's moving to the northwest at about 16 miles an hour, and its pressure not very impressive, a little over 1,000 millibars. Now, Humberto, a little bit more impressive. We've got stronger wind speeds with this. At 50 miles an hour, it's moving a bit slower, but in the same direction to the northwest. This area highlighted in red is where Imelda is likely to form. So as it goes into this area highlighted here in red, we've got great conditions for tropical cyclone formation. Let's fast forward here and take a look at what the National Hurricane Center has to say. They're saying over the next 2 days, so over the next 48 hours, we've got a 70% chance for tropical cyclone formation. Pretty impressive. As we head into the weekend, that chance goes up to about a 90% chance. Let's move on to see our tracks here. So I put your spaghetti plots on the board here. What you're going to see, again, is the track, and pay attention to the timeline here. As these storms continue to move to the northwest. Humberto moving slow. What we were hearing from the National Hurricane Center out of this storm is that it's going to have a slow start, but then it's really going to pick up intensity this weekend. So we may see some rapid intensification from this storm. We'll have to keep an eye on this on Saturday and Sunday. This will continue just to hug the islands here, almost to the east coast, by Friday afternoon, turning most likely into a tropical storm as we head into early Saturday morning. So we'll probably get our next named storm in the next 24, maybe 36 hours. Now, a lot can change after that. As we head into Sunday, what we're seeing here is Humberto taking more of a westerly turn, getting closer and closer and closer to what is soon to be Imelda. So these two storms have a really good chance to interact. We're going to have to see what happens as this continues to really hug the East Coast here. Models are disagreeing with this. Do you see how these spaghetti plots are going in different directions? These models, they're disagreeing. One model says we're going to turn back to the northwest. It's going to take a very similar track to Erin, which we saw earlier this year, where it's going to hug the East Coast, but it's never going to make landfall. A few other models are saying that we want this to go right into South Carolina, maybe North Carolina. So that's what these models are saying as we head into early next week. We're talking about Monday into Tuesday, maybe late Monday night. And then models are disagreeing kind of all over the board. What happens after that? We don't know. It's all over the board there. What we do know about Humberto is most likely what will happen here is it's going to take a northwest turn until it turns straight to the north and then curves back to the east. Very, very similar to what Gabrielle did. So really what we have to be watching for here is this AL94, which will most likely soon to be Imelda. That could be our next landfalling storm. We'll have to keep an eye on that there. I hate to show long-term models, but I do like this model. I like how it shows that these storms are interacting with each other. You can see that this one back here, this one's Humberto, it's taking a slower path, but it's a lot stronger. And you can see that from the models there. And then you can see how these storms interact with each other. Did you see that? I wish I would have slowed that down a little bit, and I may be able to on the side of the screen over here. 1 second. Okay, check out how these low pressure systems interact with each other. They get so close that what often happens is they'll take a focal point, a center point right here, and then they'll interact with each other, rotating around that focal point. That effect right there is called the Fujiwhara effect, and it's pretty rare, and it's fascinating to see. What we're not talking about here are some of the other upper level processes that are going on. We've got a ridge, we've got a trough. How are these storms going to interact with some of those upper level processes? It's very, very interesting, and it's a very complex system that we may not know more about until it's actually happening. Very, very complex setup right there. Alrighty, we'll move on. I know we got a little nerdy for a minute there. We got into the weeds of the meteorology. We'll move on. Again, the next named storm will be Imelda. After that, we've got Jerry and Karen on the board. We told you guys at the very beginning of hurricane season that we still had plenty of hurricane season left ahead of us, and we were most likely going to get to at least half of the named storms this year.